When I became a lawyer in '84, I worked in the chambers of Justice Nanda Bhandari for a couple of months and found myself feeling like a fish out of water for the simple reason that when you're such a newbie, nobody is willing to give you a brief to prepare an argument. And I thought that I needed to learn something before I came here. That learning went on for a long time in the High Court and ended with my becoming a judge of that court. But the learning didn't end. My career as a lawyer took off on a different direction. And after elevation, we had the pleasure of frequent interactions with so many of the young members of the bar who are now seniors, who are now designated. It is such a pleasure to know that such a large number of AORs have been designated as seniors in this batch and the last batch. It only goes to show how hard the lawyers have been working to make their mark in the career and how well they have been presenting their matters before us. That's only a recognition of the court, of the good work that has been done by the members of the bar. And I always say that all of us who are on the bench remain always part of the bar because we've all risen from the bar. Wherever we may be, whichever bar it may be, it could be at the district court bar, it could be the high court bar. End of the day, this is the learning ground. This is the nursery for all of us, whether we become senior advocates, AORs, or we get elevated to the bench. And the only thing, and I was sharing with the executive members, was that once your license is suspended, if that doesn't get, you don't go back to practice and that's it. But in spirit, you remain a member of the bar, which is true for at least I can say for myself. And it was just being said that, yes, I started my career from the boot of my car, and I was jokingly saying that I'm not letting my boots hang. If you could substitute with boots, it could be sandals, purses, or whatever. But the idea is that work will continue. This is one part of one's life that is wanted for another door to open. And I think that's true for all of us. As we graduate, when we are young lawyers, we are aspiring to become seniors, we are aspiring to become AORs, we work towards that goal. And when we are AORs with experience, one works towards becoming a senior designate and getting the silk. And once you are a senior designate, there is another journey which could take you in the direction of becoming a judge, if that is what is in store for you. It's all a question of where the journey takes you, and sometimes it's best, according to me, to flow with the tide. You can't anticipate everything. You can't plan everything. You, I think, can certainly work hard, which is in our hands, wherever we are. Working hard, gaining knowledge, and acquiring friends within this circle, which is the most important thing. Because many times, if you go to a non-legal get-together party, many of you must be feeling out of sorts. We are so used to talking law and legal even outside the courts. That is how we are. Though of course it's a different matter that many of the family members are pretty fed up of us. Unless there are others in the family who are familiar with how law and courts work, they think we have nothing to do except discuss courts and matters and so on and so forth. But that goes with the territory, I guess. You can't make small of that. It's a fact that it happens. So as I said, it's a journey. It's been a very good journey for me. God is kind. It is the grace of the Almighty. I have learned under my mentors, just as all of us have been doing here. And I must acknowledge their contribution to where I am today. This kind of interaction which we have, that Guru-Shishya Pratha, at some level is so important to learn under your senior and then to train others when you go up. And that's how the cycle keeps moving. So we have learned under our seniors, many of our seniors here have groomed us. We've gone up and given back to our own youngsters by teaching them some things which we had carried with us. So that's equally important, one. to acknowledge the senior, to acknowledge anybody who has taught you something in life at your work, at your workplace. I'll share with you once, I still remember, that we had a senior lady lawyer, not a designated. That time in 80s, there weren't any senior women designates, unlike now. It is such a good change. And I didn't know how to fill up a process fee form. So normally it would be the court clerk who was supposed to do this work. It was never for us. And court clerks manage to ordinarily keep their domain to themselves. It's not very often that you run under them. They don't like interference, especially from greenhorns at that time. So I was at a loss. It was vacation time. We had an injunction in our hand, but didn't know how to fill up the form to file the process fee for effecting service. And I still haven't forgotten that I went across the chamber to Mrs. Usha Kumar, who was a neighbor there, knocked at the doors and said, "Ma'am, what do I do with this form?" I didn't know that it was 0.75 paise per person after 3 rupees of court fee for the first form. And that was a hard lesson I learned. And she said, "What? This is nothing. Come here, sit down." And I haven't forgotten how kindly she took me through that and said, "Okay, this is it. Now fill up the form, put the copies." And at that time, nothing was by e-filing. Everything was physical. Rush to that particular window and the counter and deposit it. And I thought I'd achieved something stupendous. I was so thrilled with life. But these are things also which stood us in good stead. If you don't know where to start from, and you just assume everything will be done by the court clerk, you're left flailing if the court clerk's not there. So these basic things which we learned as we went along stood us in really good stead. We were confident that even if somebody was not there, we could do it. We could manage to do these things. And those were experiences that continued over a period. Another very bright example I remember was the first time I was appointed as a local commissioner by the court. So you felt like the cat's whiskers. You were a local commissioner, as in representing the court. What could be better than that? As a youngster, maybe 1 year old practice and all that. And when it came to drafting the report, I didn't know how to go about it. So we were guided by some friends who had done local commissions. कि इस तरह करो, थोड़ा सा ये भर दो, फिर नीचे क्या लिखो, so on so forth. किया. And still I was not confident. So I remember one of my friends was with Mr. M.L. Verma, Senior Advocates Chamber, who was for a brief time a judge of the Delhi High Court. And we entered and I said, "Sir, I don't know how to finally, wrap it up. What do you say at the end?" So he said, "That's so simple, come here." And he left his conference, he sat and went through that little 4-page report to guide me through it and tell me what all did I have to say at the end. And there are no prayers. It's a local commissioner's report. It's only to be taken on record. These are small things, but the compassion and the kindness of the seniors who were there for us stays in my mind even now. I'm sure all of you must have had these experiences from time to time that help mold us into better human beings. Maybe we are more compassionate, we are more considerate to the younger members, we are more warm towards the clients who come completely blank in court. And then this is the final court. At the end of the day, it is a heavy mantle for all of you also to wear as AORs, because there is nothing beyond it. Whatever you do for a client, and whatever on the basis of that the court decides, there are no appeals. So it is heavier on all of you. If you are able to discharge your duties towards your clients in the real manner that it is to be, that is very important for the consumer of the justice. They are ultimately the stakeholders. I haven't forgotten that when the grand staircase used to be our entrance all the time, many of us would take a shortcut from the side stairs, but many times the grand staircase. And when there were times when the clients would like to come and watch the hearings, I went with a family friend and saw that there was somebody from a village, a rural person. He actually went, kneeled, and then went up, because that was the final court. There was nothing beyond it. So we don't say that our court is a court. That is why we say it's a temple of justice. And these are some of the things that I recall and I've shared with you. I wish you all the best. I hope you continue to carry the mantle of AORs as effectively And as confidently and as efficiently as you all have been doing, you are the arms of the court. Without your presence, without your assistance, there can be no dispensation of justice. And that is how important you are to the system. Thanks.